Namandavats, namandavats, namandavats. So we just read The Golden Chain today, and I think a Dharma school student pointed this out to me once. The first, second, and fourth verses have to do with things being interconnected and everything depending on everything else. But then the third verse suddenly talks about pure and beautiful thoughts, beautiful and pure words, and pure and beautiful deeds. And these are the markers for karma. This is the way we create karma, is through what we think, what we say, and what we do. And so I'd like to talk about karma today, and we're going to look at it from a Buddhist perspective. So a scholar once said that the Buddha did this often. He took existing teachings and philosophies in Indian spiritual culture of his time, and he would give them new dynamic interpretations through a Buddhist lens. And this scholar that we'll meet in a bit, he calls it pouring new wine into old bottles. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is pouring new wine into old bottles. And I wanted to mention, we're going to talk about karma. Karma is a very popular term in our culture, but I don't think it's understood very well. Here's an example. If you ride a bike, then that's good karma. But if you drive a car, that's bad karma. So I hear things like this all the time, and as a Buddhist, it makes me cringe a little bit. So I think the two most popular words in our culture from Indian spirituality is the word karma and the word nirvana. I hear these words all the time. And on TV, whenever something bad happens, the partner always looks to his friend and says, "Oh, you have bad karma." So we're going to talk about this today, and I want to show you different examples. We're having a board meeting today after service, so I brought lunch, and as a treat, I brought me this really nice chocolate chip cookie that Linda bought for me. But I kind of forgot that a dear friend of mine, Ormy the pig, loves chocolate chip cookies. So I didn't realize that he smuggled his way into my lunch pail, but he was going for my chocolate cookie. And he tried to climb up the lectern, and I caught him on the wisteria emblem, and I took him down because I thought that was disrespectful. But, you know, he said it's for a cookie. Everything's okay for a cookie. So, Ormy, your name sounds a lot like ornery. Is that fair? So, Ormy's not as advanced as Freddy the Frog. I love him dearly, but he only squeals. He can't put things into words yet. But he's a very good friend of mine. So here's the first video of Ormy being naughty. I have one of those Ring cameras in my house, so when I'm away, I know what he's doing. And this really shows him in action. He causes a lot of havoc. There's a lot of consequences to his behavior external to himself. So we would call this, in our culture, bad karma. So, we really focus on external actions, external effects, consequences as a way of measuring our good and bad behavior. So I wanted to show you another one. This one has a little bit of a different emphasis. It focuses much more on his thoughts, on his intentions. And that can cause as much bad karma, and even more so in the Buddha's eyes, than external results of your behavior. So this is Ormi going round 2. Rather than actions, he's really focusing his intentions on chocolate chip cookies, I think with a nod towards Star Wars. So he only has enough good karma to move that cookie just a little bit, So these are two different ways of looking at karma, and I think the Buddha would say the second example is the one that we focus on in the Buddhist tradition. It's our intentions, our frame of mind, the habits we create. And so these are two ways of looking at karma. And there's also many other ways of looking at it in the United States and even in India. I thought a lot of people look at karma in terms of profit and loss. And so you have an account, kind of a moral bank account, and you can deposit good karma, but you can also subtract with negative karma. And you want your moral karma bank account to be in the black and not in the red. And I thought this was kind of an American thing because we tend to be capitalists and we think about profit and loss. But this was even common during the Buddhist time in India. So the quote I found was, "Why do bad things keep happening to you? Could it be because you have a lot of bad karma stored in your karmic bank account?" So this is like a metaphor or an analogy of trying to collect good karma in your life. So bad karma refers to the negative consequences or karmic debt resulting from harmful actions. It acts as a law of cause and effect where negative actions such as lying, manipulation, or cruelty create negative outcomes, which can be cleared through positive actions. So here's a little picture of somebody tipping over a block, and it's going to go all the way around and land on him. So this is a very common way of thinking about karma in the United States. But I find this very interesting. I found this when I was studying at IBS. There were four main teachings that came to China with Buddhism. And the first one was the 6 realms, the heavenly realm, the hell realm, the animal realm. There's these 6 realms. And then there's this idea of karma. And then we have interdependence and the idea of having no permanent self. And all 4 of these ideas entered China at the same time, so they were all given equal emphasis. But actually, the first 2 are basic Indian ideas that the Buddha reinterpreted, and the last 2 are new original ideas that Buddha brought to Indian spirituality. But I think this confused the Chinese, and I think it confuses Americans because we think of all 4 of these as the Buddha's teachings. And so the last 2 are his teachings, and the first 2 are his reinterpretations. So rather than karma being something fixed in the world, he looks at it in terms of state of mind and intention and the habits we create in our thinking. And the 6 realms, rather than being somewhere we go, a physical place when we die, They're more states of mind. These are realms that we travel through during the day. You might visit all 6 while driving on the 405, right? You know, the on-ramp is great, everything's perfect, I'm so happy, and then everything slows down, and I go to the hell realm, right? And then my animal realm comes out, and I maybe honk at somebody I shouldn't. So, you know, we move through these realms all the time throughout the day. So I wanted to show you a scholar I really like. His name's Richard Gombrich. He wrote the book, What the Buddha Thought, and he also wrote the book, How Buddhism Began. And so he goes back and he looks at the Buddha's time and the audience he was talking to. So most of the time he was talking to a Hindu audience, and he was getting Hindu questions. And he would give them a Buddhist turn or a Buddhist point of view. And he did this effortlessly. He would do things, this is a debating trick, he would agree with the questioner, and then he would answer the question in a totally different way. So he was always doing this, moving people from one perspective to another. So Richard Gombrich is a renowned scholar of Buddhism, particularly known for his work on Theravada Buddhism and its origins, and his research often focuses on tracing the historical and conceptual development of early Buddhist teachings, so the origin, how it got started. While he has not written a book specifically titled New Bottles, he often explores how the Buddha reused existing Indian concepts, old bottles, to put in new, radical, ethical, and philosophical ideas, the new wine. So key themes and insights from Gombrich's work, such as What the Buddha Thought and How Buddhism Began, include: Gombrich highlights how the Buddha redefined the concept of karma by shifting the focus from action to intention, emphasizing that ethical responsibility lies within the individual. So I kind of find this refreshing. You know, if you accidentally break your wife's favorite wine glass, but it wasn't intentional, it's still a price to be paid, and you feel sorry you did it, and you need to make it up, but it doesn't really create any negative karma mentally. It doesn't create habitual thinking. You weren't being careless. It was an accident. And so rather than focusing on the outcome of our behaviors, the Buddha's asking us to focus on the way we think. And what thinking leads to bad outcomes? So Richard Gombrich talks about the Buddha's upaya, or skill and means, and how he was able to teach new ideas in Indian culture and carve out a space for Buddhism. And he says the word karma is a perfect example. It means act, action, or deed, which takes place in the physical world. So when the Buddha said, "It is intention that I call karma," he was doing something logically analogous to saying that he chose to call black white or to call left right. So this is a radical reinterpretation of what karma means in India. But I think because it came in all 4 at the same time, it's confusing to people new to Buddhism. So he's actually reinterpreting Hindu teachings. So what I'd like to do is show you another video. I've searched for this video for years. I finally got good karma, and I was able to find it. This is supposed to be, I never trust anything 100% on the internet, but this is supposed to be a TV commercial for an insurance company. And it's either from Taiwan or Thailand, I'm not sure. But it's about a person who goes through their life just doing the right thing because of the frame of mind that they have. He's not trying to get anything. He's not trying to win anything. He just does what feels right in his heart and mind. He's connected. He's aware. And so this is karma that is considered good and pure from a Buddhist point of view. If you're doing good things to get something, If you live your life in a transactional way, everything you do might be good, but your karma is tainted because it's filled with ego and self-preservation. And so this is one of my very, very favorite videos. It was a reel on Instagram, and I was able to get a copy of it. And I find it really quite moving.
เขาจะได้อะไรถ้าเขาทำแบบนี้ทุกวันเขาจะไม่ได้อะไรเลยไม่ได้รวยขึ้นไม่ได้ออกทีวีไม่มีใครรู้จักไม่ได้มีชื่อเสียงที่มากขึ้นเพราะสิ่งที่เขาได้คือได้แค่ความรู้สึกได้เห็นความสุขได้เข้าใจได้ความรักได้ในสิ่งที่เงินซื้อไม่ได้ได้โลกที่สวยงามกว่าเดิมในชีวิตคุณอะไรคือสิ่งที่คุณต้องการมากที่สุด
So, he's unaware of what he's doing. He's just living his life. And I didn't quite understand why everybody was shaking their head, but I think people outside of his world thought that this was foolish. Why would you donate? Why give money to the poor? But his good heart spreads to others. And I really, really, really like this video. I want this company to be my insurance company. So Gombrich talks about this word samskara a lot, and I thought it was a typo or I misread it. I thought, because it sounds like samsara, which is suffering. But samskara is a word that means, Gombrich says that the best definition in English would be process, that it's a process that we practice with our intentions. So in both Buddhism and yoga, it refers to deep-seated mental and emotional impressions or habit patterns formed by past experience that influence present behavior and perception, often creating unconscious tendencies, both positive and negative. That practices aim to uncover, understand, and transform through awareness, introspection, and conscious action to foster greater freedom and well-being. It's like grooves in a record or water carving stone, where repetition deepens the pattern, but conscious effort can reroute them. And so I've been kind of aware of this in my life. I have two karma stories. One of them I've told you too many times, and Linda told me not to tell it again. But I have another one, and you might have heard it before. But I went to Hoag Hospital for a doctor's appointment, and I was done, and I was going to the elevator to go down to the ground floor, and the door was starting to close, and a couple, an Asian couple, was kind of rushing to the door. And the old me would have just had the doors closed. But I pressed the button to open the doors, and I let the couple in, and I patted myself on the back. I thought, I'm getting better, I'm getting better. And on the way down, they were having an argument in Chinese, perhaps, and I kind of sensed that she was unhappy with him, maybe for not taking his health care seriously enough. I've had that conversation with Linda before. They say that men who are married have a longer lifespan because their wives make sure they eat well, go to the doctor for checkups, and I think she was, I could tell he was in a little bit of trouble. So he came down to the first floor, and I let him go out first, another point. So I'm being transactional. Well, it's a start. But as we got to the doors that exited out to the parking lot, this door was automated with an electric eye. And an older woman was coming from the outside to come in with a walker. And I thought, oh, I should open the door for her. And then I thought, well, no, I don't really have to. It's an automated door. Why? I don't have to open the door. There's an electric eye. But the gentleman with the wife, he went out and broke the beam with his hand so the door would remain open long past its programmed interval so that, she could just take her time with the door open, and when she came through, she came through. And I never thought of doing that, right? I never thought to do that. And it was just a real teaching moment for me that I think that when you practice this way, it deepens and you become more aware. And I think this gentleman just did it out of reflex. I don't think he thought about it in any way. It's just the way humans live and the way they treat one another. And so, when we practice Buddhism and we become more self-aware of our intentions and our intentionality, we develop new habits and new grooves in our mind, and it compels us effortlessly to be aware of others and also to gain benefits that are emotional. Being connected to one another is a beautiful thing. It can make your day. And so I think in this country, we only focus on the consequences of our actions. So, kind of a crude example is if you accidentally run a red light and you get in a car accident, it's not good, and you have to go through a lot. But you weren't being intentionally reckless. So, maybe you have to focus a bit more, but it wasn't done with any ill intent. You weren't trying to, beat the guy in front of you to get through traffic. The other way is that you run the red light on purpose, and you're good enough that you don't hit anyone. That's worse from a karmic point of view. So it's not the outcome, it's the state of mind or the intentionality of your actions that affect one's karma. And so at adult discussion, there's 3 types of karma. There's personal karma, which you can control a little bit. There's group karma, which has to do with the company you keep and the culture that you put yourself in and the effect a sangha has on you. So the power of a sangha is the group karma that you experience. And then lastly, there is merit or virtue, which is called, one scholar called it karma on steroids. It's what you receive from life itself, life manifesting form and reality, being embraced by wisdom and compassion. That karma is a gift from Amida Buddha, and it's powerful and very effective. And we have much more control over that by the company we keep than trying to discipline our minds on our own. So thank you very much. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amidabuts, Namo Amidabuts, Naman Dabuts, Naman Dabuts. Thank you very much.